Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. The other week I did like ask me anything questions on Instagram stories and I got flooded with accounting career questions. So I figured I'll do like a special questionnaire here on YouTube asking and answering all things related to accounting, CPA, private versus public, the whole shebang. And then I'm just gonna wave my hair while I do that, so I'm just not sitting here awkwardly answering a bunch of questions. So, all right, let's get started. I also already prepped my hair. It's freshly washed. I used Way leave-in conditioner and then I used Living Proof dry shampoo on my roots already. And then straightener, I, as always, use the GHD Platinum Plus. First is college questions. What school did I go to? I went to the University of Texas of the Permian Basin out in Odessa, Texas. Very, very small school. Did I major in accounting? I did. I got my bachelor's and my master's in accounting. And then someone also asked, why did I get my master's and not just credits to sit for the CPA exam? I would just note that every state has different requirements. In Texas specifically, it's 150 credits. When you get your bachelor's at my school, you earn 120 credits. And for your master's, I think it's like 30 something, a little bit more than 30. I think it was like 2 extra classes that I would have to take to earn my master's and then enough to also sit for the exam. So I was like, well, obviously I'm just gonna sit for the exam and earn my master's all at the same time. Work questions, people asked public questions, private questions, and then public versus private. Public questions, did I consider joining the Big Four? Not necessarily. I didn't really have that option in college. Maybe it's different now. The Big Four was not recruiting at UTPB. I didn't really have that option to go intern or look for their stuff, but that was fine with me. I mean, obviously, I think I turned out fine. Did I enjoy working in public? Honestly, I did. I missed the structure of a public accounting firm and having all the resources and knowing what to do. It's just, I feel like easier to navigate sometimes in public than it can be in private. Someone asked, what's my current role? I work for Tula Skincare. I'm the accounting manager, so I handle like month-end close, daily operations, and then also on top of that, because we are like somewhat of a startup-y company. I mean, we just got acquired by Procter & Gamble in February, but because we are still in like newer stages, I also, part of my job is to help implement new processes and controls and set up a better environment surrounding that. Are my hours in private different than public? Yes, they are. I would say that in general, it can be expected, and it is with my case, that your hours in industry is a monthly situation, right? Because you have month-end close. So you're very busy during month-end close, or at least I'm very busy during month-end close. So I have like a little baby busy season every month during month-end close, and I work late and work a lot of hours during that time. So that's a little bit different because it happens once a month at the beginning of each month, versus private, you have it all at one time period chunk. What's the transition to industry like? Tula is, like I've mentioned, kind of startup-y, so the environment is just a lot more, not in a negative way, but it can be chaotic in the sense that there's just not as much structure in place at the moment. Like, I'm helping build that, so things are just not super set in stone, right? Like, I think as an accountant, we get very used to structure and very used to having things a certain way. So when there is no structure, it just gets a little bit difficult to run down your to-do list. You have to be very good and flexible at doing ad hoc projects and just kind of having your to-do list change on the fly and being comfortable with that. How do you stay productive while working from home? I try not to view going to an office and working from home any different. Like, I have a full office setup here at home. Making a routine is like getting up, getting dressed, getting ready for the day, eating breakfast, and then sitting down at my desk and getting ready and like starting to work. That helps me separate productivity work time versus being at home. Someone asked if I could share my salary. No, I'm not gonna share my salary. You can look up an accounting manager's salary, you can look up an auditor's salary at all different types of firms. You can look all of that up on Glassdoor, and that'll be a ballpark. So you can do that with on your own time. Do I enjoy what I do? Yes, I actually do enjoy accounting. I feel like I'm genuinely an accountant through and through. I enjoy like doing pure accounting work, like debits and credits and figuring out journal entries and booking things and all that kind of stuff. So yes, I do genuinely enjoy being an accountant. So that's all the questions over like career, life, work, the whole thing. And then the bulk majority of questions was around the CPA exam. So let's get into that because there's a lot. Advice for starting the CPA journey. What can I expect and how should I carry myself while doing this? Buckle up, buddy. It's about to be a ride of shit. No, I'm just kidding. The CPA is not a joke, okay? Like, it really is genuinely difficult. You have to just be prepared and know that you're about to set aside a lot of free time to focusing on this exam and getting it done. We can get into advice like a little bit at the end once I kind of explain like my journey and how that went, I suppose, and you can kind of take what you will from that. Did I take time off from work? Well, I guess before I explain all of this, my journey to becoming a CPA. So I started interning while I was still a junior in college, so I couldn't even sit for the exam. And by the time that I was eligible to sit for the exam and working, I was already a senior just because I interned for a while, and then once I graduated I got hired on and then promoted in the whole situation. So I was in like somewhat of a unique situation. So by the time I was eligible to sit for the exam, I was already a senior and had a lot of responsibilities. And my advice is, if you're eligible to sit for the exam and you're still an intern or an associate, or before you even start working in public or wherever you might be, 100% take the exam before, because it's just really hard to balance it all. But did I take off time to study? No, I didn't take any PTO time. I just studied after work and all on weekends. I didn't take vacation time. Did I pass all of my exams on the first try? Abso-freaking-lutely not. I did not. No. It took me forever to pass them, to be honest. How long did it take? It took me the entire 18 months. It was the most insane thing I've ever done. I took audit first, failed it. I think I got a 74, and then retook it and passed it. And so then obviously your 18 months starts to tick once you pass your first exam. And from that moment of passing my first exam, it took me the full 18 months to get all 4 credits. Literally, I took my last section on the day before all credits my audit credit would have expired. So I used up every single hour, day, minute that they offered of their window. Don't recommend that, okay? That was very stressful, but it just kind of was what it was, considering I was working and studying at the same time, and that's just kind of the cards that I was dealt with. How much time did I spend on each section? So I took audit twice, took BEC once, I got a 75 and passed, and then I took reg, I think I took that 4 times, and then FAR, I think I took it 3 times. So spent a lot of money. I also spent a lot of money changing the exam date, and I changed it well in advance, so that was pretty cheap to do, but I also did it within the 5 days, and I kept pushing things, so I spent thousands of dollars doing this. So yeah. Did I study while working? If so, how did I stay consistent and balance all of that? I would work all day like normal, and then I would finish working by probably 6:30, 7. And then my coworker and I, we were both studying together. We would run and go get dinner, go pick up Chick-fil-A or Subway or just something to pick up. And we would scarf down dinner and then just start studying in the conference room together. And we would study from, I don't know, we'd start studying around 7:30, 8 p.m. and stay at the office till maybe 11 to midnight. We usually turn it off at midnight, and then we would drive home. Every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday, we were studying together. We would study for 12 hours every weekend. It was a freaking nightmare, okay? Did my study and schedule habits change during each section? No, not necessarily. I attacked each section basically the same way. How did I retain information? Repetition. Repetition, 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 doing the same shit over and over and over again until it's burned into your brain. How did I find the dedication and determination to study and stick with it? Well, your promotion is dependent on it, in public at least. If you don't have your CPA, you're not promoted to manager. So that was pretty much motivation enough for me. I hear it's best to have it before you start to become a senior because of the workload. Is that true? Yes, 100% absolutely true. I lived through that and do not recommend. But if you can't help it, like I couldn't help it, kind of is what it is and you do your best. But yeah. What textbooks or books did I recommend? So when I was studying, I purchased Becker. That was my main source of study guide materials, was Becker CPA. Everyone uses Becker. It's very, very well known. And then I also used Roger's CPA for some stuff. I loved the way he explained information and broke things down. I understood it really well when Roger would explain, and all of his stuff was free on YouTube. Also used Wiley, but I just simply used Wiley for their test bank online, their MCQ test bank that when I was studying was free. I did FAR in person. I did like the crash course or something like that they had offered. I don't know if they still offer that. I'm sure they do. I drove up to Dallas to do that crash course and I still failed. So that was cool, but I did it. Spent a lot of money on it, time and effort, but I got great study materials that I shared with all my coworkers and all my friends. So guess that was helpful. Study strategy. Everybody's study strategy is so different and so unique to them that it's hard to say like what way is obviously the right way. What I ended up doing was for each section, right? So if I'm studying FAR, then chapter 1 of FAR, I would listen to the audit lecture and then I would pause it, take little notes, and then I would start to play it again, and then I would listen to it, read along in my book, pause it, take more notes in like a whole separate little spiral notebook. And I've essentially, what I ended up doing was I hand wrote and outlined the entire CPA book, which is like insane to think about, but that was the only way that I could absorb any of the information. And then once I did all of that, then I would do the flashcards, and then I would start to do all the MCQs. And then once I did all of the Becker MCQs, then I would go and do Wiley's MCQs. So it was pretty much listening to the lecture, following along in my textbook, handwriting notes, practicing MCQs over and over until I got at least an 80% passing. And then I would move on to the next section. Words of advice for pursuing this. I mean, I feel like a lot of things, a lot of questions and themes I noticed when you guys were sending in these questions was like, you were scared of what to expect. And I think until you take your first exam, you'll respond to it all differently on your own. But I think it's just, I don't know, like you're just gonna have to get through it and study hard and kind of just know that the next 18 months of your life is about to be complete and utter hell, and you just hope that everyone around you is going to support you and root for you and cheer for you and understand that like you're going to cancel plans, you're not going to make it to any events. And like maybe that's dramatic and maybe that was just my own personal experience, but that was my experience. Like it was just a lot of studying. I'm so glad that I'm past it. It was probably the worst time of my life. It's just so much. Your whole life is consumed with the CPA exam, if I'm honest. And I think you just have to like grasp the reality of that's what your life is going to be, and just like come to terms with it, and it just kind of is what it is. I'm going to do my Dry Bar triple sec spray. I think that the CPA exam is obviously very, very difficult and there's no way around it. You're just gonna have to bust your ass and get it done. Biggest advice is if you are currently working and wanting to pursue the exam, don't dick around, okay? Like get your exam done. Work gets harder as you move up and gain more experience. You're gonna be tasked with more items and responsibilities. You just need to get the exam done and get it out of the way. So just do it. you need to study the best way that you know how. Like, you guys all just finished college or like close to it or whatever it might be. You need to kind of revisit what study habits worked for you and what didn't, and mimic that to study for the CPA exam. I would find a study buddy if you need to, and hold each other accountable and study together, whether it's like after work or on weekends, whatever it might be. If you study better by yourself, do that. Study habits are so individualized to every person that it's hard for me to like give you proper advice. I can only tell you what personally worked for me. And like I said, it was handwriting notes and honestly just redoing as many MCQs as I could. And like repetition. I did so many MCQs. I would redo Wiley's, I would do Becker's. One of my colleagues actually, or coworkers, ended up having Roger's CPA because he paid for it. So I signed in and did Roger's CPA MCQs. Like, it was just, it's everything. I think I answered most of y'all's questions surrounding like accounting, my career, public, private, CPA, whatever. If I didn't, feel free to DM me and I will respond with whatever you might have questions left of. But I'm gonna leave you with one like trick thing that I did during the CPA exam that was a game changer for me personally, and I feel like that's how I passed my exams. One caveat is I took it in 2017. It is now 2022, so I am sure times have changed. But when I was taking the exam in Texas, we were allotted 2 sheets of scratch paper. When you sit down at your desk and take the exam, you enter in like who you are, what section you're taking, like all of the information they tell you have to type in. And then you have basically 11 minutes to do that. And then when you press enter, your exam starts. And hopefully if this doesn't happen, you guys can tell me in the comments and like this whole story was stupid and I didn't need to tell you guys this little trick. But the easiest example is for BEC. There's a shit ton of formulas that you have to memorize. I created a cheat sheet and memorized the cheat sheet and I practiced writing it down. So when I had 11 minutes before the exam would start, I would type in all of my information, like I'm Cynthia Lee, this is the exam I'm about to take, whatever it was. And in those 11 minutes, one of my scratch pieces of paper had all of the formulas, all of the acronyms, all of the details that I would need to know to help me answer questions later during the test. And once I finished writing it down, then I would begin the exam, and then you would have your allotted X number of hours, depending on the section, to start the exam. And so then if I got an MCQ or a simulation that was referring to one of my like cheat sheet items, I would just go look at the formula and then apply the numbers, and I wouldn't have to like memorize what that formula was. So I don't know if you guys still do that now during the CPA exam. I did that, but that was my little trick and hopefully that helps. But I think that's it for like everything about accounting, life, career, CPA, all things accounting. Hope that was helpful and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.